Hello everyone, this is the 20th annual conference from TESOL Macedonia Thrace. We have here with us Mr. David A. Hill.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Why A?
Why A? Because in the decade before I was born, the decade I was born in, and the decade after, David was the most popular boy's name. Hill is the 11th commonest surname. So for 30 years, you've got quite a lot of David Hills. If you Google David Hill, you get lots of people. And if you Google David Hill ELT, you get lots of people. And I've always been David A. Hill just to distinguish myself from the myriad other David Hills. The A actually stands for Anthony, for those of you who are really interested in what it is. But if you want to find me rather than the imposters, you have to Google David A. Hill and then you'll get me.
All right. So we would like to know some things about what you're going to talk about in your speech.
Yes, okay, so the topic of the talk is language play, which I think is a very important and very neglected area of language competence. The thesis starts from the fact that all higher creatures, all higher orders of mammals play. And that playing is the way that they learn. So playing, it has a pleasure function, but it also has a learning function. Kittens jumping on their mother's tail get some pleasure out of it. The mother probably doesn't get quite as much if they sink their claws in, but the kittens get pleasure out of it, but they're also learning how to catch a mouse. So the play serves a function, it serves survival functions, it serves various other group interaction functions and so on. Human beings still do that. They still play in those ways, although of course they're not such a necessity as they are with wild animals. But the crucial difference is that because we can speak, then language has replaced an awful lot of the action that play takes with animals.
And how could we incorporate this into teaching in
the
classroom?
The thing is that a lot of my ideas stem from very early on in my teaching career, and also watching the way that native speakers learn their mother tongue, which they do through play. A lot of what young children do in their mother tongue is play. If you think of things like nursery rhymes and songs, hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog laughed to see such fun, and the dish ran away with a spoon, is nonsense basically. Hey diddle diddle doesn't mean anything, but it sounds nice. It's playing with language, and children invent things of their own.
So they're quite receptive.
Yes, absolutely, and it's also a communal thing. I mean, the whole business that folk tales and folk songs used to be passed on orally, and unfortunately are not so much anymore because of the technology in society and the lack of connection between grandparents and children and so on. But they are essential. I believe it's essential to humanity and to humanness, to being human, and therefore to communication. And an awful lot of the learning about the way that the language works comes from that. So that you can have something like Lewis Carroll's famous poem Jabberwocky from Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There, where he says, "'Twas brillig and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wabe, all mimsy were the borogroves and the mome raths outgrabe," which is complete nonsense, but we can understand it because we know which of those words, "'twas brillig," it was sunny or something like that, and the slithy toves. Neither of those words exist, or they do because Carroll invented them. But we know that slithy is an adjective and tove is a noun because of the way it works. Exactly. And so all of that kind of patterning through play, hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, you know, it fundamentally feeds into the feeling that we have about language and the way that we operate in language.
Actually, we develop our learning skills.
Yeah.
without realizing.
That's right.
Through
Yeah,
play.
we develop the whole way that we understand and use the language through largely through play, and so that whole business of phonological and lexical patterning is crucial. And unfortunately, most language teaching doesn't allow for nonsense. Most language teaching, even of young children, sadly, is very, very meaning focused. And what you can do, well, later, yes, but what can you do with the language? Even young kids have to say, what's your name, my name's John, how old are you, where do you live, that kind of stuff. And if they do hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, it's because they put it into the section on animals to learn the names or practice the names of the animals, which is not the purpose of the rhyme. I mean, it can be. I don't have anything against putting it in that section, but that's not what it was intended to do. It wasn't to teach children the names of animals. It's just to have fun, you see. And so the whole business about then being able to play with the language is a crucial part of social interaction. I mean, if you and I go to the pub, we're likely to tell a few jokes, a few funny stories. We make fun of what each other say. It's the normal things that oil the wheels. And I had a very, very important lesson early on in my ELT teaching career where I was asked to teach a Spanish doctor one-to-one. And so I assiduously, this is in the 1980s, pre-internet and that kind of thing, so I assiduously cut all the articles out of the newspapers about medical things that I could find, and so yeah, exactly. So after, I mean, and he was doing an intensive course. He was there for 2 weeks doing 6 hours a day. I had him 3 hours in the morning. Somebody else had him 3 hours in the afternoon. And I went in on the
work.
Well, yeah, apparently. and I went in the first morning, and after sort of 15 minutes after I said, what's your name, are you married, what do your children do, where do you go on holidays, do you like sport, all that kind of stuff, and he'd asked the same things to me, and we kind of finished that because we knew about each other. I said, well, I've got some articles here, would you like to read this? And he pulled it across the desk and he looked at it and he said, I know about this. And so I thought, and I thought, what am I going to do for the next 2.5 hours? And he said, listen, let's understand from the start. This is not what I need. I am a doctor. I know about medical issues, and I know the language that's required. I'm going to a conference in, I don't know where he was going, he was Spanish, he was going to a conference in, let's say, Berlin. And he said, where there will be doctors in my field from all over the world, from Taiwan, from Argentina, from Reykjavik, from wherever, and I will be able to sit through all of their lectures and understand most of what they say, because it's related to what I know about medicine. But I'm there for a week, and I'm going to go out to dinner with these people every evening. I'm going to go in the bar with them every. What am I going to do? How am I going to understand the jokes? How am I going to tell jokes? How am I going to be able to be there? And I thought, that was a big learning curve for me there. And so it didn't mean I walked in next day with a bunch of jokes, but it did make me change my ideas about what kinds of things ought to go on in teaching. And if you look through course books, I mean, I write the things, so I can tell you firsthand. There are jokes and amusing texts in there sometimes, but not much. And also, if it is there, it's there because it illustrates the past perfect or whatever it is that we're doing in Unit 17. And my contention is that this is a kind of learning, it's a kind of competence. If we started off with Del Hymes's communicative competence in 1966, and gradually people have added, so you can have phonological competence, and you can have pragmatic competence, and you can have lexical competence, and so on. I think you can have play competence. It is one of the competencies that a fully competent speaker of a language is able to cope with. And like all of the other competences, you can't do it if you don't experience it and you don't practice it. And so my idea is that as well as the other, I'm not saying instead of, but as well as the other things we do in class, we need to do things that involve language play which might involve reading funny things, which might involve understanding how puns work, might involve simple jokes, might involve rhymes, and so on and so on. So that's the kind of area that I'm leading to.
Very interesting approach.
Well, it is an interesting approach. I mean, I wouldn't call it an approach. Kind of implies a bit more than I want it to be, but I think it should be an interesting part. It's not a method either. It's a part of what we do, like all the other things, and it's not done, basically.
Are you working on some kind of project at the moment?
No, yes, but not this. My new book that just came out before Christmas was with Helbling Languages, which is traditional folk songs. This is a revolutionary book. Nobody's done this before. It's 15 traditional folk songs with lesson plans and photocopiable worksheets for students. And my co-author Andy Rouse and myself did the CD, because we're both semi-professional musicians, so we recorded the music, and that's got some very good reviews and good feeling about it.
So how music is related to
that too.
teaching.
Yes. And I mean, looking at one of the worksheets always in the set of worksheets that go with each of the 15 songs there is to do with the language and how that's played with, and of course, as you know, I'm the coordinator of the Literature, Media and Cultural Studies SIG for IATEFL, and of course song is closely related to poetry and language play, the whole business. If you're talking about rhyme, you're talking about verse structures, patterning language and so on, then that's what you're talking about, playing with language.
Thank you very much for being here.
No, thank you.
I hope you're going to come back again.
Well, if you invite me, I'll be here like a shot.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.